For this afternoon. I'd like to welcome everyone in the chamber. I have a couple of presentations before we get started. Councilman John Smith.
Folks, this is Joni Fitch from Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company, and we are presenting Goodyear with a proclamation today on their 175th anniversary. And so I'll read the proclamation, Joni, if that's okay. All right. Whereas Goodyear was established at the dawn of the automobile age, Akron became the rubber capital of the world in the early 20th century as automakers built cars on Akron tires, and generations of families were employed in the rubber factories. From bicycles to automobiles, trucks, airplanes, and even spaceships, Goodyear quickly became the leader in development, manufacturing, distribution, and sales of tires throughout the world. And whereas today Goodyear is one of the world's largest tire and manufacturing products companies, they have 57 factories in 23 nations around the globe. The company continues to be a major employer in Akron with more than 2,500 workers. Goodyear also produces and sells a wide variety of other products made from rubber, chemicals, and plastic for the transportation industry, including automotive and industrial belts and hoses, molded products, and foam cushioning accessories. In addition, Goodyear provides auto repairs and services throughout a network of several hundred retail outlets. The company continues to be an innovator in tire production and technology, now introducing a self-regenerating concept tire with artificial intelligence features that will allow the tire treads to change according to the environment and climate. The technology also uses sensors to learn from driver behavior. Oh boy. And whereas in 2015, Goodyear completed a $160 million corporate headquarters along Innovation Way, not far from the original factory in East Akron. The Goodyear blimp, based at Wingfoot Lake, remains a symbol of local pride, and most recently, atop the old Goodyear Hall on East Market Street, the iconic Goodyear sign featuring nearly 1,200 bulbs was restored and once again light up the night skyline of Akron, and their LED lights as well, which are very energy efficient. Now, therefore, this council and executive are pleased to recognize and congratulate the Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company on its 175th, I said 175th, and I was ahead of myself, 125th anniversary. You'll probably still be there.
I hope not.
No. Anniversary, and wish them continued success in the years to come. We urge all citizens to join us in honoring them on this 11th day of September in the year 2023, and we are very proud to have Goodyear in Summit County, and we wanted to recognize the 125th.
Thank you so much.
If everyone, Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you and congratulations again.
Thanks, Madam President.
You're welcome, sir. Next we have a presentation from Power of Clean Future of Ohio. We have Mr. Joe Floridia and Ms. Cassandra Clevenger. It's just you? That's right. So I'm going to take back Cassandra. You can come. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
Hi, council members. We've invited Power Clean Future here to give you a little bit of background about who they are and what we're asking them to do. They are unable to join us next week during committee when we would normally have them here to answer your questions. But I think you'll find Joe has an incredible background and has been working with my team in the communications and administration department to bring you what I think, and I'm very hopeful, will be a giant step forward for the county in identifying what we're doing as far as being environmentally friendly and conscious, and what we can do in the future to be even better than we are now.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson.
And I guess I would point out, I'm sure Joe will do this, but I don't want to steal all this thunder. We are also in a county where we have 3 of our communities who are already members of Power Clean Future, so that's Cuyahoga Falls, Greene, and Monroe Falls. And some of our similarly situated urban counties are already members as well. Lucas County, Montgomery County, Cuyahoga County, and Athens County are also members. Thanks, John.
Great, thank you. Council members, thank you for the opportunity to be here today, for the invitation to speak to you all about an organization that I love and very passionate about. It's also relatively new, a relatively young organization, Power Clean Future Ohio. So PCFO, which I'll dive right into it, launched in February of 2020. So you take yourself back to February of 2020 and where we were, right? Right before an interesting time in all of our lives. We launched a brand new organization here in the state that was focusing on how do we engage directly with local governments in the state of Ohio to help shepherd in this clean energy transition that we're seeing around the world. We're seeing in our state through economic investments. We're seeing as a economic and public health imperative, but also clearly an environmental imperative as well. So we launched in February of 2020 with that sole focus. Let's work directly with local governments. And we identified a few key challenges right up front, which is that local governments, number one, they want to do this work. They hear from their residents about this. This is something that's important to them. But oftentimes they face capacity challenges. They face resource constraints that limit the ability to invest in this work, but also to plan for this work, which is a key step in the process to actually get to that place where you say, yes, I'm going to invest taxpayer dollars in this. I'm going to feel confident about doing it. And so we launched with that structure in mind. Let's solve for some of those very challenges. So again, solely focused on that. And the other piece that I mentioned about being resource constraint, we knew if we created some sort of membership fee associated with being part of this work, likely that's going to delay us from actually seeing action, seeing investment. And so we've been able to go to foundations, both here in the state and across the country, to say, Ohio wants to do this work, but we need the support to make it happen through the local government lens. And so they've been able to provide us grants so you all don't have to pay to get these incredible technical assistance services that we can provide you all to do this, both for your local government, for your residents, but also in partnership with the local governments, a few of which were already mentioned. In order to join, what we ask local governments to do is pass a resolution. So just a simple non-binding resolution that says you're joining our organization, and then you get access to some incredible technical experts, which I'll talk about here in just a moment. So that's the simple step that it takes to join PCFO and to join the ranks of 45 local governments all across the state. They make up about 40% of Ohio's population doing this work and engaging in it every day, which has been exciting to see over the past 3 years. Oh, maybe? I don't know where the receiver is here. Oh, maybe that was it. Try again. There we go, I got it. All right, thank you. Yeah, you just had to stand up there. So just to quickly cover what our key goals are in doing this work. Number one, I mentioned the environmental imperative we're all facing related to climate change and the public health consequences of emissions that we all see in our community due to traffic, industrial emissions, power generation. It all provides emissions in our air that we need to move away from for our environment's sake, but also for the sake of our own health and the health of our children. So what we want to do is make sure that everything we're going to recommend to a local government is going to reduce emissions. Some in small ways, some in big ways, but every recommendation we make will have that in mind. The second thing we know is that we need to find a way to reduce costs. And fortunately, we're in a moment in time in our economy and the development of technology that many of the solutions that we see now that can reduce emissions can also save us money. We talked just a second ago, we heard a little bit about installing LED lights. Perfect example of a very simple technology change that has happened that both reduce costs because it's cheaper to use LED lights over the course of that light's lifetime, but also it reduces emissions, right? We're using less energy. And so finding those types of solutions that is a win-win for the community is important. Sometimes we need to know. We need to do the analysis up front to say, yeah, actually it does make sense to invest a little more in those LED lights today because over the course of the lifetime of that light, it's going to save us money and, again, reduce emissions. So reducing costs is a critical piece to this. We also want to make sure everything we do is done in an equitable way. We know when we think about investments in the energy space, in the energy economy, throughout our history, there has been generations of discrimination, of inequities that have faced communities where we cite energy generation, the emission sources where those are located. So how can we make sure that the most vulnerable members of our communities are prioritized in this work? And so everything we're going to recommend is going to have that filter in mind as well. And then finally, let's grow the clean energy economy. There's a chance for all of us to take advantage of this and invest in an economy that we know is going to get bigger and bigger. And any state that makes it a priority is going to be able to win out in the end in that respect. And certainly a community like Summit County, who has lots of experience in industry, should be thinking about that, especially when engaging with your local businesses. So I mentioned this, you pass a resolution, a relatively simple process. We can provide you some suggested template language to consider. But then what we ask is for you to appoint one member of your local government that will be the lead person that we work directly with. And what that means is, let's say there's a federal grant opportunity that comes up. There's certainly lots of federal grant money on the table right now. If we identify Summit County as a potential, applicant for a grant, we know who to reach out to and say, hey, this is an opportunity that you should consider. Can you help coordinate within your local government to identify if it is the right step for you all to take, and if we could help in any way to make sure that you all get the best, most competitive application submitted for that grant. So that's what we asked, is for that staff lead to be designated. In some cases, for smaller communities, it's the mayor, right? We work with down to small villages, and we work directly with the mayor or council members. County executives occasionally are getting involved, but most of the time we're working directly with a staff member on that city or county government. And then, of course, we want to make sure we're reporting progress and engaging with you all throughout the course of this step.
And council, the executive's office is identified as the direct contact, so that would be me and my staff. So Ethan, Rachel, Colleen, this group has been working with Joe and his team.
Yeah, and a fantastic team to work with, so we're certainly excited. So you can see here on this list of 45 communities that are all committed to doing this work. I will emphasize here in this that you look across this list of communities, and they make up a variety of different microeconomies, different investments that drive some of their decision-making, different populations, different workforces. They're all very unique, and also different sizes. And we mentioned a few of the counties are on board. I'll add Hamilton County also on that list as well, along with several counties, or 3 different communities here within the county, along with communities all across the state. We really span across that list, which we're both proud of, and also gives us an incredible opportunity to connect peers. When you're looking to solve a difficult challenge and you're trying to figure out, what's the best way for the county to approach this, some of the first steps you should take, right? Who else has done this? How have they done it? How have they done it well? What are some of the pitfalls they've come across? And so that creates a perfect opportunity not just to hear from us as experts to say, here's what you should do, but also let's connect with someone who tried this once and maybe was a raving success, or maybe had a failure, and we can avoid that going forward. So that's what this incredible group of communities that have gotten on board with this work represents, but also represents a lot of progress we've seen in this state to reduce statewide emissions. So what does our technical assistance team look like? We've got a great group of technical experts that have experience working in local government, but also bring that deep policy expertise, deep technical expertise to provide you recommendations and support. So I mentioned a second ago about federal grants. So we've seen historic investments from the federal government and from the infrastructure bill that passed, I guess, almost 2 years ago. And then we've got the Inflation Reduction Act, the largest investment in climate that the U.S. has ever seen, and that will ultimately be an incredible opportunity for both private sector individuals to take advantage of, households, residents to take advantage of, but also local governments have an incredible opportunity to take advantage of that funding. And so what we recognize is that local governments, again, need that support to be able to close the gap between wanting to pursue a federal grant, wanting to take advantage of a tax incentive, and being able to know how to actually do that. And so some of our technical expertise can provide you that support. But there's also a lot of work that has to happen up front in order to pursue some federal grants. So let's say you're going after a transportation grant, you're going after a climate pollution focused grant. Having a fleet inventory to understand your fleet, where you should be making the right investments. If you're going to transition to electric vehicles, what does that look like? What's the right timing to make those investments in those vehicles? What does the supply chain look like? How long is that going to take to actually get those vehicles? That type of insight can happen through an EV fleet inventory and assessment. If you're looking to site charging infrastructure, again, another scenario where you may need some technical support. I mentioned a climate pollution focused grant that may be of interest to Summit County. There's lots of different federal funding that falls in that general category. A greenhouse gas inventory might be a great first step for the county to pursue. So to understand where our emissions are coming from. If we're going to set a goal to reduce emissions, it'd probably be good to know where they're coming from and do a benchmark, right? To understand if we're going to actually, achieve that goal, where do we need to spend the majority of our time, and expertise and resources to have the biggest bang for our buck. The 3 communities that were mentioned actually are all interested in pursuing a greenhouse gas inventory. Some, Monroe Falls, for example, has had, as a smaller community, we've focused on a greenhouse gas memo where we just highlighted some of the key recommendations you'd have for them. For larger communities, we can do a deeper dive greenhouse gas inventory that breaks it down by sector and makes some recommendations. Also assesses energy burden. It's the amount of money that a household pays to their electricity bills. If you have high energy burden, that means you're paying too much of your household budget towards energy bills, and we need to find ways to address that and help residents that are most vulnerable in that circumstance. Tree canopy assessments, also another thing, absolutely critical piece to public health to make sure we have good tree canopy coverage, but also an important piece to reduce emissions, right? A tree soaking up that carbon dioxide. We need to make sure we're investing in our tree canopy and that we have a good sense of where that tree canopy is and how to both manage it, but also be proud of it, because I think that's something that residents like to hear about, to know that, hey, we've got one of the best tree canopies in the state. Certainly, I talked to folks down in Athens County. They're very proud of their tree canopy. So hopefully you all can be as well and can talk more about the great work that goes into preserving that. Finally, I'll skip through some of these other pieces just to say that, oftentimes local governments do this work because it makes the most sense, right? It's the logical decision to invest in this. But you also need to tell your story and communicate that to residents. And so we can help you do that to make sure you're talking about the work that's happening. I encourage you, if you have the chance, get on our website or check out our social media pages. We have a chance to go around the state and highlight. So we do these video tours where we go and highlight the work that different local governments are doing, so both residents can understand and figure out how they personally can invest in this work, but also support the local government to further those investments. Here are just a few quick examples of some of the work we've done, with Canton doing a tree canopy assessment, and they're interested in pursuing more work with us. Dayton did a greenhouse gas inventory. They found 14% of their emissions come from municipal operations. Oftentimes I get the remark that, well, we can only control so much, right? There's only so much within the locus of control for local government. It makes complete sense. There's a lot that local government can do to influence businesses, to help educate residents, and we encourage that. But there's also plenty within the operations of a local government that can help have a real impact. And so in this case, 14%, that's no joke, right? That's quite a bit of emissions coming from just the local government's operations. So to have that understanding right up front and understand how can we plan for it going forward is important. Toledo passed, we think, the first of its kind in the country, a 1% for the environment budget ordinance. And so we've heard of this 1% for the arts budget amendment that often happens where you dedicate a certain portion to the arts in your community. This is a case where we're taking the capital improvement budget for the city of Toledo and saying we're going to dedicate 1% of that to explicitly environmental projects that are determined by a commission that they help establish. So we helped provide them some language and feedback on how to actually set that up, and I think another great model for what we've seen with local governments in doing this work. So with that, I will go ahead and wrap up. That's my contact information. Happy to answer questions today, but just encourage you all to think through it. We're here as a partner, and so we can move at the pace that any local government is interested in moving. So if you want to move fast, we can certainly move fast. If you need to take your time and do some more deliberation and figure out how to plan for this work, that's certainly a role we can play as well. So with that, I'll go ahead and stop and answer any questions.
Thank you, Joe. I had that privilege of hearing you present at, I think, a Board 8 meeting in Akron, maybe in 2020, 21? And,
I think about a year ago, maybe?
Yeah, so thank you. I appreciate you. Any questions from members of council?
Joe, first of all, thanks for your work. I think this is definitely a very positive direction for the state to be going in. One of the things that we talked about just this past weekend at a retreat for council is our county is doing a lot environmentally, and if you look at the different departments, a lot of not only financial resources are committed to environmentally correct initiatives, but also human resources as well. And when you're talking about going after grants, especially some of these federal grants, do you or have you looked at collectively what a county does over the wide span of everything that they do versus just say Department of Sanitary Sewer? Because every department, almost every department I've seen over the last couple of years, something comes to us where they're trying to do the environmentally correct thing. Something is directly related to LED lighting, or it could be a major initiative that Mike Vinay and his team are doing with a sanitary sewer initiative. So how can we help ourselves by collectively telling that story when it comes to something like this? And does it make a difference? Does it even get any attention when you're looking for federal dollars?
Well, I'll answer that first part, or that last part first, which is it certainly matters quite a bit. And I think that, it depends on the grant, right? We're looking at what they're actually looking for, but one of the processes we will go through if you all are pursuing a federal grant and want support from us is a competitiveness review. So as you finish up your grant or you're working through, up front, we're engaging with you to say, here's what you need to be focused on, here's what this grant is really asking for, and read between the lines here. But then at the end, if you put it together and you want us to review it to understand where are you most competitive, some of those key aspects is making sure you're reflecting all of the work you're already doing, right? Making sure that they understand the investment the city is making or the county is making. And so that step is absolutely critical. But I think you all are doing the right work in integrating it across every aspect of your operations. And so I think that is only something that you'd want to further pursue if you're going to be competitive for federal grants, and one that we would recommend. It's no longer sustainability as kind of its standalone department, right? Sustainability needs to be incorporated across every aspect of municipal operations to make sure that it's reflected in grant applications, certainly, but also just for the sake of the budget, for the sake of the health of the community. All those things are key aspects of this. So that would certainly be something we would incorporate. It is difficult. I'll say that up front. I don't think that is an easy step to take to make sure you're reflecting all of the different aspects of the county's work in a federal grant, but certainly something that should be considered and prioritized.
And Greta, we have a resolution ready coming before us,
Yes,
correct?
you'll be seeing that, and what you'll see reflected in that is, as the executive typically does with endeavors of this size and scope, we're starting in-house. So we'll be looking at the environmental impact the executive departments have, so sewer services, administrative services, our buildings, our fleet, what we're doing with sort of our surface water project, things that the executive's office is charged with completing. And then our hope is that we'll bring in some of our other charter offices to do the same thing. Obviously, it makes sense to include the engineer in these conversations, but certainly all of our elected officials have ways in which, as you pointed out, everybody's doing something, and so really bringing that all together. So what you'll see reflected in the resolution that will be in front of you are goals that are very achievable and that which we can build on.
Great. Greta and Madam Chair, I'd like to go on as a co-sponsor when that comes forward.
Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Glenn.
You said when you began that we started this. Who is we? What are some of the names, what are some of the organizations that started this or get started?
Yeah, we started as a fantastic coalition of organizations that are, many of them are environmental organizations, environmental advocacy organizations. So the ones that you probably recognize right away: Ohio Environmental Council, a fantastic statewide organization that does this work. Sierra Club, some of those bigger ones, but also the Ohio Conservative Energy Forum, trying to engage conservatives in this work. Chambers for Innovation and Clean Energy, engaging chambers of commerce. So it's a coalition of organizations that initially supported it. It grew over that first year, and so we ended up establishing it as a nonprofit organization.
Can you send us a list of those, please?
Of course, yeah.
And then what other states are doing this? How many other states are doing a similar program?
Well, I'm proud that I think we're a unique one in the country in doing this exact sort of model and providing this direct technical assistance. I did talk with some folks over the past about year and a half in Wisconsin, and they just launched their own organization similar to ours in that state. But you've got to find creative ways to do this in places that you don't always have the same level of leadership that cares about these issues. And so we're taking a different approach to it.
Okay, so along with those organizations, do you have written goals? Does the organization have written goals that you can send us for what you want to see occur in the future?
So in terms of individual for specific municipalities or for the organization itself?
If you want to take this organization, what do you want to
Yeah, happy to follow up with those, yeah.
And how are you working with the fossil fuels organizations?
We have no relationship with fossil fuel organizations, do not work with them.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from members of council? Hearing none. Thank you once again for your presentation. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Tonight, we have 23 first readings. We have 3 motions before us. We have 5 first reading passage requests. First, M042, 2023. Appointments to our Charter Commission. I know we have a number of appointees that are here. If you wouldn't mind standing, and if you're ever so inclined, if you want to approach the mic and introduce yourselves, we'd love to know who you are. Don't be afraid.
Hello, everyone. I am Mariah Cheatham Williams. So it's nice to be here tonight. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for your willingness to serve.
Hello, Council. I'm Dr. Al Bragg.
Thank you for your willingness to serve.
Good afternoon. Henry Johnson, Jr.
Thank you for your willingness to serve.
Good afternoon, Dan Rice.
Thank you for your willingness to serve, Dan Rice.
Good afternoon, Sarah Butchie-Gross.
Thank you, Sarah, for your willingness to serve.
Hi, Jeff Snell. I'm the first of the retreads who were here before.
Thank you for your willingness to serve.
And I'm the second of the retreads, James Armstrong. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Thank you all for your willingness to serve. We understand this is really important work, and we value your time that you're willing to commit. So thank you so much. You know, this is always a wonderful place to be on a Monday, but you really don't have to stay if you don't want to, but you're welcome to do that. Okay, we're done. Thank you. I don't think that we have. Andrew's not here. Okay, we'll move on to M044, 2023. Jen DeRilio, okay. Thank you. Appointment to Humane Commission. Thank you. You want to introduce yourself?
My name is Jen DeRilio.
Did you want to say anything?
I've been a part of this commission probably 5 or 6 years ago when I was executive director at Paws and Prayers. And I left there, and now I'm the new owner of the Camp Bow Wow in Cuyahoga Falls. And I'm looking forward to getting back into it.
Thank you so much for your willingness to serve.
Thank you.
Thank you. 2023-264. We have Holly Miller to present before council.
Good evening, Holly Miller, Summit County Department of Community and Economic Development. This is a project that we want to do with the Health Department and the lead grant that we help them administer. This home is a rental. The parents live out of town. They rent it to their daughter, who has 2 small children. We did not anticipate this being over $50,000 when we put it out to bid, but it is. So now we're coming to you as an emergency because we do have to take care of the lead in the house. And Lindsay Construction is the bidder.
Thank you. Any questions from council?
You say the parents own the home, live out of the area.
Mm-hmm.
Are they putting any money toward this?
25%, because they're a landlord, 25%.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
You're welcome. Any questions, other questions, members? Are you good with this, Ms. Hine? Thank you.
Thank
Ms.
you.
Holly. 2023-265, we have Catherine Pomeroy Van Horn
Pomeroy Van Horn and John Hart.
to just council. Thank you.
Good evening, Council. My name is Attorney John Hart with Summit County Children's Services. This is Attorney Catherine Van Horn with Summit County Children's Services. Attorney Van Horn is also our General Counsel. I'm here today as a representative from Summit County Children's Services asking your support and approval of the Memorandum of Understanding to address child abuse and neglect. The last time this was approved by Children's Services was in 2017. Now, with new legislature from Ohio House Bill 4 of the 134th General Assembly, which was enacted in May of 2022. This is becoming a biennial requirement. So we have sought the collaboration and the approval of the municipal police agencies in Summit County, along with the Summit County prosecutor, the sheriff, Akron Children's Hospital, and they have all signed on to this MOU. What this does is it describes the collaboration between the county and also the police departments and the other agencies that all have a hand in dealing with child abuse and neglect. As the agency that is tasked with investigating child abuse and neglect in the county, we are charged with taking hold and bringing this MOU to be finalized. One of the main goals of the MOU is to reduce the amount of times a child has to be interviewed so that it can reduce trauma. It also takes what the law says about the collaboration and puts it into a document that is specific to Summit County. There is an Ohio Department of Job and Family Services template that we used this year that's new. So we took the 2017 MOU, we took the relevant substantive parts of that and put it into this document. And as I said, we have 34 signatures already. At this point, we are seeking approval of the council and then the county executive. Once that is approved, then we will send it to the Ohio Department of Job and Family Services for a final review, and they will give us a yay or nay, but they have already given a tentative approval with what we have. And then we'll have this advertised on our website, on the county website, and it will be in place, and then we will see you again in 2 years to do it all over again. And with that, I can't answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you. Any questions from members of council?
May we have a copy of the document, please?
Absolutely. I brought copies for everyone. I'd be happy to pass them out. Yes.
Any other questions from members of council? Hearing none, are you good with this, Councilwoman Darrow?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
2023-266. We have Stephen Byrne to address council.
Good evening, Stephen Byrne, Office of Information Technology. So this is for software support for our payroll and time tracking software. This should be the last year that we have this as we look to roll into the new Munis application, but this will cover us for the last year.
Thank you, Mr. Burns. Any questions from members of council? Hearing none, are you okay with this, Mr. Donofrio? Thank you, Mr. Burns. 2023-267, Mr. Montgomery to address council.
Thank you, Madam President. Phil Montgomery from the Executive's Department of Finance and Budget. We have this cycle's appropriation legislation before council, so looking at Exhibit A. The first two items are the appropriation of the transfer of funds to create the internal lease fund that is before council today for approval. The next two are reallocation of appropriations for the Board of Elections for their revenue fund that gets reimbursed by the state. On page 2, we have some appropriation adjustments as we continue to move through our first year in our ERP system, Munis. Brian and I are working to reconcile a lot of these appropriations. And as you can imagine, getting all that cut over, some things got a little twisted around. So we're just working to straighten them all out so that way when we get to the end of the year, our audit will go smoothly. So we're just working through those things. The next one is appropriation for a professional services contract for physical plants. On to page 3, we have $275,000 that council already approved via resolution 209 for the Sojourner Truth Plaza over at the United Way building. $250,000 in miscellaneous expenses. This is where we pay for a lot of our legal fees that come up for the lawsuits throughout the year, so we need to put a couple more dollars into that fund. The next couple are fiscal year 24 grants. And then on the last, that's the rest of them. Getting through the last 2 pages are all grants for the various public safety areas. If that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Phil. Any questions from members of council?
Phil, do we have a timeline on when the Sojourner Truth Plaza will be done?
I'm not, it's looking pretty good, but I think there's a ribbon cutting coming up.
The plans are ongoing because of the timing of the completion of the plaza and the completion of the statue. There's some concern about installing it at the time that it might freeze. And so the committee who has been working on this diligently has discussed perhaps doing it in the fall or moving it to spring to the anniversary of the speech itself, just because some of those logistics are hard to predict in Ohio.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Are you good with this, Council? Thank you, Mr. Donofrio. We have 2023-268, Ms. Matz to address council.
I'm going to have to admit I didn't grab an agenda. Is this the DD support piece?
Yes.
All right. So that I have with me James Armstrong,
Double
who
duty
is
here tonight,
general
so-
counsel for the DD board. And of course, the executive always supports this piece simply because, and I believe you all have always joined in that support, it's important for DD's funding to continue. There is no increase in the millage. I think the dollar amount ultimately increases a little bit, but the millage does not. And at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Jamie.
Deb pretty much covered most of it. I'm hesitant to talk about, after you've already approved the necessity and already approved going on the ballot, what questions you may have here, but it's an important levy. I'm proud that we only come every 6 years to ask the voters to essentially, mostly renewal, but in this case, replace the existing levy from 18 years ago. So we would ask that you pass this resolution and encourage our residents to continue giving worthy people an opportunity to prove what they can do.
Thank you. Any questions from members of council? Any questions from members of council? Hearing none. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Again, tonight we have 23 first readings. We have 3 motions. We have 5 first passage requests. There are no late filings. Routine legislation can be found on pages 8 through 9. There's no second readings, no third readings. We'll now stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Councilman John Donofrio, followed by a moment of silence. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Schmidt.
Here.
Ms. Hyam.
Here.
Mr. Donofrio.
Here.
Mr. DeVitas. Ms. Dickinson.
Here.
Ms. Sims.
Here.
Mr. Woolhite.
Here.
Ms. Darrow.
Here.
Ms. Rogers.
Here.
Ms. McKinney.
Here.
Ms. Walters.
Can I get a motion to approve meeting minutes from August 28th? I have a motion from Ms. Darrow to approve meeting minutes from August 28th. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Motions for council, M42, 2023, a motion of council confirming the reappointments of Jamie Armstrong and Jeff Snell and the appointments of Albert Bragg Jr. replacing Kathy Prokop, Sarah Bucci Gross replacing Omar Banks, Mariah Cheatham Williams replacing Laura Wallerstein, Henry Johnson Jr. replacing Lisa Miller, Dan Rice replacing Helen Humphreys, Karen Talbot replacing Sylvia Trundle, and Mayor Mike Wheeler replacing Cazell Smith Sr. to the Charter Review Commission.
Can I get a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion from Councilwoman Hyam on M042, 2023. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
M43, 2023, a motion of council confirming the reappointment of Andrea Whitaker to the Criminal Justice Advisory Board.
Can I get a motion? I have a motion by Councilman Wilhite on M043, 2023. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
M44, a motion of council confirming the reappointment of Jen DeRelio, replacing Zachary Verheller to the Humane Commission.
I Have a motion by Councilwoman Gloria for M044, 2023. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
First readings, a resolution declaring the, 2023-264, resolution declaring the remediation of a lead hazard located at 425 Briarwood, Akron, Ohio, in Council District 5, an emergency pursuant to Section 177.07A3 of the codified ordinances of the County of Summit, and authorizing the executive, subject to the approval of the Board of Control, to execute a contract with Lindsay Construction and Design in an amount not to exceed $56,515 for emergency remediation of an existing lead hazard at said address for the Executive's Department of Community and Economic Development emergency.
Madam President, I move to suspend the rules and adopt 2023-264.
Have a motion to suspend the rules and adopt 2023-264 on the suspension. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And on the adoption, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
2023-265, a resolution approving a memorandum of understanding to address child abuse and neglect investigations as required by ORC Section 2151 between Summit County Children's Services, all municipal police departments, and the County of Summit, including the Executive's Department of Job and Family Services, the Sheriff's Office, the Prosecutor's Office, the Juvenile Court, the authorizing the Executive to execute the MOU and other necessary documents emergency.
Madam President, I move to suspend the rules and adopt 2023-265.
Have a motion to suspend the rules and adopt 2023-265 on the suspension. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And on the adoption, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
2023-266, a resolution confirming the award by the Board of Control, subject to the approval of the Information Technology Board, of a professional service contract with Kronos, Inc. as sole source for the purchase of UKG Dimensions timekeeping for the period 9/24/23 to 9/23/24 in an amount not to exceed $173,971.20 for the Office of Information Technology emergency.
Madam President, I move to suspend the rules and adopt 2023-266.
Have a motion to suspend the rules and adopt 2023-266 on the suspension. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And on the adoption, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
2023-267, a resolution appropriating funds in order to meet projected expenditures for the balance of 2023 as set forth in Exhibit A for the Executive's Department of Finance and Budget emergency.
Madam President, I move to suspend the rules and adopt 2023-267.
Have a motion to suspend the rules and adopt 2023-267 on the suspension. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And on the adoption, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
2023-268, a resolution supporting County Issue 17, which will approve a 4.5 mil replacement levy for Summit County Developmental Disabilities Board for a 6-year period from 2025 to 2030, inclusive, and respectfully urging all Summit County voters to vote in favor of County Issue 17 at the November 7th, 2023 general election for the executive emergency.
Madam President, I move, well, if Committee of the Whole, I'll move for the adoption of that, but I believe Gloria Rogers asked that we all be considered as co-sponsors. Everybody okay with that?
Thank you, Mr. Councilman Smith. I have a motion to suspend the rules and adopt 2023-263 on the 268 on the suspension. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And on the adoption, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
2023-269, a resolution authorizing the executive to execute, subject to the approval of the Board of Control, a lease purchase agreement with M-Tech Company at state term pricing for a 5-year term for 2023 Western Star Tandem Axle Chassis with a GapVax combination jet vacuum machine, which will be financed through the Huntington National Bank for a total amount not to exceed $396,070 for the Executive's Department of Sanitary Sewer Services emergency. 2023-270, a resolution declaring the week of October 1st through the 7th, 2023 as Stormwater Awareness Week in Summit County, recognizing the effects of stormwater runoff on the infrastructure and environment for the executive emergency. 2023-271, a resolution approving the award of award by the Board of Control of a land lease agreement with Crown Castle LLC as a best practical source for a cell tower at 1100 North Avenue, Talmadge, Ohio, in Council District 6 for a 5-year term with 4 options to renew for an additional 5-year terms for $36,000 for the first year with a yearly 3% increase each year thereafter, and 25% of any the rental proceeds received by Crown Castle LLC from users or subleases for the Executive Department of Law, Insurance, and Risk Management emergency. 2023-272, a resolution authorizing the executive to execute a grant agreement with the Development Finance Authority of Summit County for a grant in the amount of $125,000 for calendar year 2023 for the Executive's Department of Community and Economic Development emergency. 2023-273, a resolution accepting the recommendations of the Tax Incentive Review Council regarding several enterprise zone agreements in Summit County in Council Districts 1 and 3 for the Executive's Department of Community and Economic Development emergency. 2023-274, a resolution authorizing the executive pursuant to Section 177.13 of the Codified Ordinances of the County of Summit to increase the purchase aggregate total for calendar year 2023 for Federal Express Corporation and confirming the award by the Board of Control of a purchase contract with Federal Express Corporation as a best practical source for service of process of documents for the clerk of courts for an estimated amount not to exceed $55,000 for a total yearly amount not to exceed $104,500 for calendar year 2023 for the clerk of courts emergency. 2023-275, a resolution pursuant to Section 177.13 of the Codified Ordinances of the County of Summit authorizing purchases by the sheriff as best practical source in calendar year 2023 with Akron uniforms for sheriff deputy uniform purchases in an aggregate amount not to exceed $200,000, Akron Automotive LLC for fleet repair services in an aggregate amount not to exceed $150,000, Conrad's Tire Service for fleet repair services in an aggregate amount not to exceed $70,000, and Williams Automotive LLC for fleet repair services in an aggregate amount not to exceed $100,000 for the Sheriff's Office emergency. 2023-276, a resolution confirming the award by the Board of Control of change order number 2 to a professional service contract with Family and Community Services, Inc. for homeless prevention services from 10/1/22 through 9/30/23 in an amount not to exceed $50,000 for a cumulative increase of 357.14% for a total amount not to exceed $320,000 for the Executive's Department of Job and Family Services emergency. 2023-277, a resolution confirming the award by the Board of Control of change order number 3 to a professional service contract with Visual Edge, Inc., DBA Graphic Enterprises Office Solutions for maintenance, service, parts, equipment, and related supplies for all Department of Job and Family Services copy machines and e-copy scanner units for the period 11/1/21 through 10/31/23 in an amount not to exceed $15,000 for a cumulative increase of 227.68% for a total amount not to exceed $65,000 for the Executive's Department of Job and Family Services emergency. 2023-278, a resolution confirming the award of the Board of Control of the renewal of professional service contracts and authorizing the executive to disperse funds, including those that exceed an aggregate of $50,000, to all non-emergency medical transportation providers operating under contract with the Executive's Department of Job and Family Services in federal fiscal year 2024 for the period 10/1/23 through 9/30/24 in an estimated total amount not to exceed $4,500,000 for the Executive's Department of Job and Family Services emergency. 2023-279, a resolution confirming the award by the Board of Control of professional service contracts with various providers for state fiscal year 2024, utilizing temporary assistance to needy families, benefit bridge, and state general revenue funds from 10/1/23 through 9/30/24 in a total amount not to exceed $5,335,000 for the Executive Department of Job and Family Services emergency. 2023-280, a resolution confirming the award by the Board of Control of change order number 2 to a professional service contract with United Way of Summit and Medina counties in an amount not to exceed $50,000 for a cumulative increase of 187.5% for a total amount not to exceed $575,000 for the Executive Department of Job and Family Services emergency. 2023-281, a resolution declaring the month of October 2023 as Breast Cancer Awareness Month in Summit County, recognizing survivors, loved ones lost to breast cancer, and caregivers that supported individuals throughout their battles, reaffirming the need for early detection and a cure for breast cancer, and encouraging residents to wear pink on October 21st, 2023 for this council and the executive emergency. 2023-282, a resolution declaring the month of October 2023 as Safe Sleep and SIDS Awareness Month, highlighting the risk of sudden infant death syndrome among infants, the importance of safe sleep practices in reducing SIDS, and uplifting families with newborns for the executive emergency. 2023-283, a resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission, authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them for tax year 2023, collection year 2024, to the fiscal officer for the Executive Department of Finance and Budget emergency. 2023-284, a resolution declaring the month of October 2023 as National Arts and Humanities Month in Summit County for the executive emergency. 2023-285, a resolution declaring October 2nd, 2023 as North American First Peoples Day in Summit County, honoring the history and culture of Native Americans, acknowledging the efforts to preserve this history in the United States, in the state of Ohio, and in Summit County, and encouraging residents to join in the acknowledgement for the executive emergency. 2023-286, a resolution declaring the County of Summit as a Power a Clean Future Ohio community and affirming, the county's partnership with Power a Clean Future Ohio, a nonprofit organization that works with local leaders to create carbon reduction plans and implement them in ways that are achievable, measurable, equitable, and economical, and declaring an emergency.
Madam President, I move to suspend the rules and adopt the routine legislation found on page 8.
I have a motion to suspend the rules and adopt the routine legislation found on pages 8 through 9. On the suspension, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And on the adoption, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. If there's nothing else to come before this caucus, this council, we are now adjourned.
Did I? Oh.
Ms. Gloria, sorry I didn't get your last name in there. I don't know why I get to, I should just